the agenda?
So moved. David.
Second.
Thank you, David. Do I have a second? Mary Ann, second. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Vanessa,
All in favor?
I'm sorry, are we recording?
Yes, I see little dots on everything.
Because
We're
I
recording.
don't.
Yes,
oh,
we
there
are
it is.
recording.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I see them
So-
on there. We're all recorded.
Sorry to interrupt.
So, no, you're good. So, David motion, Mary Ann second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. And I think we now have Brian on there too. I see Brian there.
Yep.
And then, so the only person that's not on yet, if he's joining us, is Kevin, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. All right. Then I'll go ahead and move this to facilities management update.
I don't know if Neil wants to start. This is Susan. But Neil, did you have anything to say? If not, we'll turn it over to Nikki, who I believe is on. She said she's on. Nikki, you
Yeah, I
want
see
to
her.
take it? Okay.
I could take it from here. Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Good morning.
As far as the Parks and Rec report, I submitted that all to you all last night. Again, the pool attendance, just going over this briefly, not too much attendance for the past 2 weeks. East Village 26, Spring Park 20, Spring Lake 14, Lakeside 29. North Village was pretty high up at 32. Again, these are numbers that the team reports on a daily basis. And these were the highest numbers in the past 2 weeks. So far at the complex, everything's going well. The Celebration Soccer Club has been utilizing the fields on a nightly basis with no concerns. One concern that we would like to bring up is the gym reservations. So far, our team is posting the gym reservations on a daily basis. We've had residents express their concerns about the waits. The waits get booked daily. There's only 8 time slots a day. So there's 3 options that could occur that could probably assist with wait bookings for the near future. Either allow 2 participants to reserve the waits each hour. So it would be 5 guests each hour in the gym. This would allow 18 residents to utilize the waits instead of 8. But please note this would be more responsibility of the residents to socially distance. The second option would be, instead of a 1-hour reservation, limit the waits to 30 minutes. This would also prevent or allow 16 residents instead of 8. Or we can increase the reservation time slots until 9 p.m. and this would allow for 2 additional time slots for residents to utilize the amenity. I'm not sure if you would like to discuss this at this meeting, but I can continue on, Vanessa, with beach volleyball and summer classes, or do you want me to stop at gym reservations?
Why don't we stop here for a quick second, because it looks like I have some board members that want to have a dialogue. First of all, Nikki, thank you very much for providing some options and solutions for us to actually discuss with this. So on that note, I'll open it to any board members.
Nikki, again, I echo what Vanessa just said. Why don't we pick 2 out of the 3? So one proposal would be to extend the time slots until 9 p.m. unless there's a downside on that. And then the other is either go with option 1 or option 2.
And what is your recommendation, Nikki?
Yeah, good point.
So we could increase the gym until 9 p.m. In the past, the gym was till past the 6 o'clock time frame as is. So that would actually assist our team with 2 additional time slots. As far as option 1 or 2, this kind of goes down the middle. We were comfortable. We visited the gym, the team and I. We did separate. There's 2 rows at Spring Lake Fitness Center. We did separate the equipment, so it is 6 feet apart unless you're using the equipment side by side. Signage is already posted at the gym saying that you need to wipe down equipment after every use. I think option 1 will be a little bit easier to control or be better than option 2 because I'm not sure how often people like to work out, if they work out for 45 minutes. I know some people, when we arrived for the treadmills, are only there for a half hour. So I would suggest option 1 to allow 5 participants in the gym.
So
2 for the weight.
you would recommend a combination of 1 and 3, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that
Thank you.
motion. I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, thank you, David. Conversation or comments from the board? Okay, I'll call the vote. David, yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Mary Ann, yes or no? Sorry, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann's
You're muted.
muted.
I'm sorry, I didn't unmute myself. Yes.
Thank you. Brian, yes or no?
Yes.
Diana, yes or no?
Yes.
And am I
Yourself.
missing anybody?
You.
There's no Kevin, so it's just me, and I'm a yes. Okay, I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. I forgot to write down. Usually I have my little cheat sheet of who I need to call on. So motion passes. Thank you, Nikki. You want to go ahead and move on to the next one?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Beach volleyball. So far in the past 2 weeks, our team has reported no more than 8 residents at a time. We did have residents express concerns about a car parking illegally. However, our team did reach out to the resident involved with this matter, so it should not occur again. As far as the summer classes, Irish dance just finalized. However, X Factor dance finished the rest of the week off doing some morning boot camps. And so far it's gone really well. They've only had 9 participants in the room, and when they looked like they were having a little bit more participants, they started utilizing the activities room as well. So far the indoor facilities were going well for the summer.
All right, the one thing you
And
skipped.
that's all I had.
One thing you
I'm
skipped
sorry, go ahead.
was the comment on basketball courts.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So with the volleyball courts, somebody expressed concerns about why are the volleyball courts open and not the basketball courts. Right now, the volleyball courts, I would say there's more adults on the volleyball courts. So when there is a crowd, it's easier for them to disperse compared to kids. When you come back, they start to gather again. So I think that was kind of the difference of why the volleyball courts are starting to go well now. It's more of a matured audience utilizing the volleyball courts.
So is your recommendation no change to our current policy? I mean, obviously we talked about the gyms, but otherwise you're comfortable?
I'm comfortable right now. I didn't put basketball courts in there. So I will be more than happy to bring it up within the next 2 weeks. But I believe we should keep as is right now.
Okay. You're happy, I'm happy.
Yes, I agree. Any other comments from the board with regards to what Nikki has said so far?
The only suggestion, Nikki, is with the pool attendance. Can you also, when you show like East Village 26, can you say what the capacity is? That 26. I mean, can you just put that in the report? So like,
yes, sir, I can do that.
Because that's not changing for now. So it might be 50 or is it 26? I mean, it just gives us a sense of, are they near capacity? Or are they halfway? It just gives us a sense, because I know it's varied capacities. And we will likely adjust
Absolutely.
capacity in the not too distant future. I mean, who knows when.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll do. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Nikki.
Minor change. Thank
Any
you.
oth-
Good job.
any
Good
other
job with the report.
By the way, this is a
Thank you,
very
sir.
useful report. I like this a lot.
Yes,
Totally agree.
yes.
Any other comments from the board?
Is this going to
Okay.
be a week? Nikki, I don't remember, since we've been meeting every other week. Is this a weekly report now? Or is this just before the meeting report? Just a question.
I usually do this before the meeting. However,
Okay.
I can change it to weekly
I don't know.
if that would accommodate better.
Just a question.
I think what you've been doing now has been fine unless there's any issues from the board.
I think it's fine, unless if something egregious comes up, you'll let us know. That's all.
Absolutely, we'll do.
It looks good. Thank you.
Anything else for us, Nikki?
That was it.
I
Thank
would
you
like
so
to
much.
add one thing. This
Go
is
ahead,
Susan, and my
Susan.
video's not working. But two people have said that Nikki's Recreation Committee wants to have a workshop to discuss their recommendations to the Board of Directors. Are we able to meet next Friday?
Do I have 4 people that can meet next Friday? I know I was available. I know Diana was available. David, Brian,
I'll be-
Mary Ann?
I can be available. Yes.
I can be available. Is this
Okay.
recommendations for actions right now, or does this have to do with 2021?
This has to do with actions right now. They
Now.
have, to start back up with our program partners in facilities and other things. I'll send you some paperwork today or tomorrow. Nikki's given it to me already. I wanted to make sure that we were able to have a workshop prior to distributing paperwork.
What's happening is there are a couple of programs that are trying to get everything all set up for their fall, for back to school and their fall events, and they need to know whether or not they can proceed. So they need action from the board on that. Is that soon enough as far as we know? Friday is soon enough?
Yes, according to
Okay.
Nikki, you can confirm. But they want to start on the 17th, which next Friday is the 14th. So that would give us the weekend to get started and notify them.
So
Is there anybody that,
I was going to say,
Go
why
ahead.
can't we move it up then? That doesn't give you any time.
Yeah.
That's right.
I would
We
agree.
can,
That's
absolutely.
We look
Diana,
at
I'm gonna
earlier
second.
date.
Diana, I'm gonna give me 1 second. Diana, I'm gonna reach out to you because I know you have a daughter that is involved in dance and things like that. Do you know when they needed some information from the board by? Is Friday too late, I'm assuming?
I believe they were actually thinking they were on the agenda today for X Factor, which I don't see them on the agenda. So I would say the sooner the better, because she needs to get her fall schedule out in public.
I can
How
do,
do we get,
Okay.
Vanessa, I can do Monday morning, Tuesday morning, or Thursday mornings too.
Susan, when's the quickest we can get, if we post today for a meeting, when's the soonest we can do?
Monday.
Okay, let's do
48
Tuesday.
hours.
Okay, so I am not available at all Monday in the morning until after 2. So we can do after 2 on Monday, or I'm available anytime on Tuesday. Diana, can you meet after 2 on Tuesday? Or excuse me, on Monday?
After 2, either of those days would work.
I
How
can
about
meet,
anybody else?
I can't meet till after 4 on Monday.
And I can't meet till after 4 on Monday. So if we could do 4 or 4:30 or something on Monday, I'm fine.
Okay, are we good with that, ladies and gentlemen?
Let's do 4. Let's do 4 on Monday for an hour.
Okay,
It was
If we
supposed to be
even
it was an hour max, right?
yeah.
Hey, Vanessa, this is Nikki.
Yeah.
If there's a way we can do it at 4:30, the Recreation Committee's meeting about the 3 applications from 3:30 to 4:30 on Monday. That would be great.
Said let's do 4:30 then. Thank you for that insight.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so
Okay,
4:30
we'll
on
have
Monday.
Right. I got it.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, and hopefully that'll solve our issue for some programming. Anything else, Susan, that you had with regards to facilities or any concerns with upcoming motions you need from the board with regards to facilities?
Not at all.
Okay, Nikki, thank you so much, and good luck with your meeting on Monday. And we will have you will have your vote for everything on Monday at 4:30.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Absolutely.
Great.
Okay, so on that, website compliance for ADA, we've had that with that was going to the technology committee was what we were waiting on now. Brian, do you have anything with regards to that? Because we did get the lawyer's information on it. So what are we moving for now?
I thought based upon the lawyer's feedback, we agreed we didn't need to do anything. Technology committee's not doing anything. They just were out there in the background that they had to do something, but I thought we were in good shape.
Okay,
Patrick, you
I'll
wanna-
remove
That's
that
correct.
from the agenda.
Okay. Perfect.
And we
Yes,
hope,
that's correct. The Technology Committee does not have to do anything going forward. Legal counsel did review the information and basically stated that we don't necessarily fall within the scope of ADA compliance or fair housing compliance. But what we did take on was taking a look at our website and adding alt text to images that we display, and that would assist in screen readers for those that utilize some type of a screen reader with their, for websites, tablets, phones, things of that nature. And that's just us just kind of going above and beyond to make sure that everyone can access our site.
But the original reason this showed up was because do we have a lawsuit issue, yes or no? And that came back as a no. And the
No.
committee can
That's a
enhance
no.
to them as far as they want.
Okay, very good. So we can officially remove ADA website compliance off of our future agendas, and knowing that Patrick has gone above and beyond what we needed to do legally. If there are any nuances that come up or any advances that are easy solutions for compliance, I definitely would like the board to be aware of them so we can move forward on it. But I think that what you've done so far, Patrick, with that is definitely a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on the board with regards to that? Perfect. Then let's go ahead and move on to lifestyle events. Let's do this one at a time. I'm assuming the board has all read. First of all, were there any changes specific to Falltoberfest from when we originally discussed them at our last meeting? JR?
No, no changes. The only thing with Falltoberfest, I had reported back at the May meeting, the decision would need to be made by August 12th, just so we can let one of the acts know as far as the deposit goes, whether we would be moving forward or looking to possibly roll the deposit over to next year.
Okay, any other comments from the board? Okay, then do I have a motion to approve the Falltoberfest for October the 10th?
I'll make the motion.
Brian, motion to approve Falltoberfest. Do I have a second? I'll second. Discussion? Okay, then I will call the, go ahead.
No, I'll start.
I want to ask one specific question. When we discussed this last time, we were making sure that we were totally comfortable, and I'm asking this question for JR, that we had one path in, one path out, proper segregation. We were refining everything to make sure that we were comfortable that we had done everything we could do. And I read your update here, but JR confirmed to everybody, you've got the pass down, you've got the staff commitment, you've got everything in place.
We do. I mean, you know, is it perfect? I hope it's close to perfect. I mean, nothing is perfect, but we feel comfortable with the plan we've put forward and the plan we discussed with the Special Events Committee, and feel that we can implement this.
If we commit to this, is there a loss of funds if we have to cancel? Or we'll be able to postpone? Let's say there's a real COVID explosion.
I think at the very least, we would probably be able to push the deposits forward to next year or to a later date.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Okay. And go ahead, David.
Yeah, I want to pick up where I left off 2 weeks ago. I had 3 broad questions. One is about safety, and that is still my concern, which I'll come back to. Second is, what are the costs specifically for each item here? And third is looking at a range of lifestyle events, not just the bigger ones like these, but smaller ones. So with the issue of safety, I'm still paying attention to the benchmarks for reopening that come from the White House and come from our governor's office. And what I said 2 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago and before that is we need to be on the downward trend. And one of the metrics is it has to be one or the other, and both of them we do not meet in this county or in this state. Downward trajectory of documented cases, downward trajectory of positive tests, and neither of those are we meeting. So I cannot, in good faith and with safety and health in my mind, even though it's a good plan, I cannot support any event that might have more than maybe 50 people. So I will be a firm no on any of the large events. And then I haven't seen the costs. One of the things we asked for, I know it's within budget, but what is the actual cost so we know how our resident funds are being spent?
Other board comments?
This is Mary Ann. I'm just wondering, so because truthfully, who knows what October, November, and December are going to look like? We have absolutely no idea, which makes this the difficult decision to make today. So a little information on, let's say we chose, because the plan was very well done. I really want to be clear about that, and took every safety precaution that we could possibly think of right now, or very close to every, into consideration. So I think talking about what would be the cost related, let's say we approved Fall Oktoberfest today and they went full force with planning, but October turned out to be a surge time frame and we need to peel back. What would that look like to have to do that? Because that's, for me, that's my problem, is making a decision today about something we have no idea what we're going to be looking at. Because even the data you're citing today, David, could be much better or much worse. We just don't know.
Absolutely.
So I was
We
just
can't predict
wondering, because from a business standpoint, I see high value in moving forward with planning. But unless it's going to, cost, have, a lot of cost problems associated with it, or if we don't move forward in the end. And I know that there are those factors. So I just was wondering, what do we know about what that might look like if we make the decision to move forward today and have to peel back?
Well, that is why I asked the question about will we be able to roll a credit forward, because we went over a plan that had the cost of all of these when we did the budget for 2020. So from a cost perspective, I'm assuming that JR has done something that is within the plan that we put together rolling into 2020. So is the real question I think you're asking is, what would the cost be if we had to cancel?
Yes, that's the bottom line. That was my wandering path to that question, Brian. That's correct.
And I actually
JR, do we have, let's ask that, because I think everybody has that question. JR, do we have that, do we have the cost for that by chance, JR?
Well, just to answer Brian's question first, yes, we can roll over deposits. We can roll over any money that we've put up, or we've put up to this point. Right now, we're probably looking at an expenditure of about $8,000 for the Fall Oktoberfest. But again, that money, if we decide to postpone, can be carried over. Just to give you, the committee had voted, just to give you some background here regarding Holiday Fest. Obviously, we're not going to do the Holiday Fest traditionally like we have done with the snow slide, ice rink, that sort of thing. I've worked with the contractor with that, and we have actually been able to roll over all the deposits for that year. So there's no money lost for that event this year as well.
So it's a true statement then, JR, to say that the cost is zero, assuming that interest rates in a bank account right now are like 0.0001%. We're just out the money in your account and having a credit.
Yes, the only cost right now that we would incur for Fall Oktoberfest is we did order the pumpkins. They had to be ordered several months out, but that would be the only expense if the event didn't move on. Actually, well, the pumpkins were going to go towards the drive-through Halloween anyway, so, but that's what the only fixed cost that we have right now.
I was going to say, I don't consider that an expense, because we would, if we don't use it for A, we'll use it for B or C.
Or D or E. So I actually had two questions on the costs, and we've addressed the one. The other is, as shared multiple meetings and then the special events committee, I'm all about having events, and I'd like to see lots of smaller events. Spread the dollars out, $1,000 here, $2,000 there. If it rains, it's not a big deal. If cases go through the roof, cancellation, not a big deal. Don't have to worry about refunds and so forth. But, just looking at having a variety of engagement opportunities for our community. So I'm all about that is my point.
I agree with you, David. But I think let's make sure, because right now, the events committee is continuing to work on many things. These are the ones they have presented before us for now. So I think it's important. I know that I have said the same thing. I know that all the board members at some level have said, how can we come up with some smaller events? They're working on that. Let's make sure that we at least stay focused for this meeting, knowing that they've heard what we're saying, let's stay focused with this meeting with getting through if we are, so that JR has some more direction on that. If that's agreeable.
And that is fine, but let me add a comment. We have not spent any money this year. So if we ended up going with several smaller events that cost $1,000 a piece to make up a number, we've got that easily in our budget because we haven't spent any money so far.
Exactly.
Yes. So these costs here can still be, we still have enough money in the budget for residents to be able to enjoy things should we do smaller events in addition to these. So if we go that direction. So there is money in the budget. Thank you.
So cutting to the chase is we don't have a financial risk that's real. We have, and the safety risk is a wild card that I think every one of us knows we will be debating probably up to 2 weeks before the event, watching what's going on. But we get a credit. Is that a fair statement then of where we're at?
JR, are
Yes,
you back on? Okay.
Yep. Yes, that's a fair statement. In light of everything that's going on, I mean, as you said earlier, or I believe David said earlier, entertainers have been hit especially hard, but they realize that they can't control any of this, and they are, everybody that we are working with has been more than accommodating. So
it was like here, we pushed it over, so it's 6 feet apart.
Somebody's off mute.
Somebody needs to mute.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it is. Somebody's on mute or needs to mute. So are there any other comments from the board before we call the vote for this particular event?
I just have a question about the motion. Is it necessary or unnecessary for us to put a qualifier in the motion?
I'm gonna.
That we will.
They can't see my face. No, I have my. It just says my name.
I got the mute there. There we go. I just muted. Okay, go ahead. Oh, you're muted again, Marianne.
Yeah, you muted me while I was talking.
Oh, sorry. I actually was trying to mute whoever was talking. I just muted the other person. I muted you too, so I apologize.
That's okay. I'll forgive you. My question was, is it necessary or unnecessary for us to put any qualifying language in the motion that we will, review this closer to the event if any, different decision regarding holding it needs to be made, or is that not necessary in your opinion to make that qualifier?
Go ahead, Brian.
Why don't we make the qualifier be that JR has got to, and management has got to ascertain that we have the proper ability to roll over the deposit, because then that builds in the ability for us to review as we need. And there would undoubtedly there would be some drop dead date in that contract that says you have to give us final notice 10 days in advance or something because they've got a plan. But the contract would be where to do that, I think.
So you don't think we need to put any safety language, just keep it to because it'll roll together?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is, go ahead, Vanessa.
Yeah. I was just going to say, should we go ahead and add in assuming that nothing closes down with the county, there's no rollbacks on anything. I guess that's what you're concerned about, correct, Marianne? That all of a sudden we see that the county or the facilities or the cases or something.
Yeah, if there's something that spurs because I'd like to vote to move forward with it, and I'm very comfortable with what JR has said about the budget aspects of it, with being able to either roll it forward as a credit. But what I would like to know is, should we put in the motion language that we will review this again closer to the event to make, I don't want to use the term final determination, but I guess what I'm leaning into here is the uncertainties, and I don't want to tie us into something where people say, well, you voted to do it, and now you say you're not doing it because the number of cases is going up, but you voted to do it, so you need to do it.
So can we say both based upon the consistency of where we're at today, or how do you want? What would you
for
like,
me, it was really
that?
simple that we would vote to move forward with an additional review closer to the event regarding any safety concerns.
Health considerations or safety considerations.
Okay. Go ahead, Diana.
Yeah, I agree with that, Marianne, because I think we've got to make a commitment this far out. But I'm concerned that, just as you said, that if cases go up, things a lot different from now and 90 days, whatever number of days it is. The plan is perfectly put together. I like that, but again, I definitely agree that we have to reevaluate this closer to the time and not just, if it needs to be canceled closer to the time, we still have that option.
All right, since I made the motion and I think Diana seconded it, what if we say that we're
It's
accepting?
Vanessa.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. That we're accepting, proceeding with this plan with the understanding that the board will be a final review in the middle of September.
And I will modify my, my second to meet that. Thank you. Are we good to call the vote then? Okay, then I'll call the vote. David, yes or no?
I reluctantly need to be a no for reasons stated.
Totally understand. That's fine. Mary Ann, yes or no?
I'm a yes with the motion as revised to give us another look in September. Thank you.
Okay. Brian?
I'm a yes.
Diana?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, so Falltoberfest, October 10th, moving forward, pending no big increases, to be reevaluated in September. Thank you, JR, for that one. And thank you to the committee too. So on that one, let's move on to B, Not So Spooky Hallow. Again, that has all the safety provisions and everything that the other ones do. JR, do you want to give us a quick recap, or do I have a motion that is, does anybody have a motion on this one before we discuss it?
I'll make the motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay, perfect. So David, a motion to approve, Brian second. Discussion from the board, first of all, any questions from the board?
I think we had a good discussion 2 weeks ago on this one.
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward and very safe.
Totally agree.
Agreed. Agreed.
Totally
and I
agree.
hope there's some pumpkins left over.
All the vote.
All right, perfect. David, yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Excellent. Okay. So, Founders Day, November 13th and to the 14th. Do I have a motion on Founders Day?
I'll be happy to make the motion.
Motion to approve?
And I'll second so we can have discussion. This is Mary Ann.
Okay, Mary Ann, second, thank you. Conversation, discussion, questions, board.
I assume, Brian, it includes the same parameters that Mary Ann raised 2 items ago?
Yeah, I think that would be a fair statement. Yes, I agree with that.
You changed the September date to an October review date.
Yeah, middle of October review date.
Middle October review.
Okay, so subject to mid-October review, and you're good with that, Mary Ann, to
Yes.
revise your second on that? Okay.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Could I ask Vanessa, could JR confirm for us, everything here is exactly the same as the prior event that we approved, or is there any changes? I mean, I'm seeing concert, I'm seeing CFC. I just want to know if it's exactly everything the same.
It is,
JR?
Brian, the same, yep, it is the same setup. Just the concert on Friday night, no parade on Saturday. The veteran ceremony will move forward as planned on Saturday as well.
Was this not a longer concert? If I recall, wasn't it 2 groups over a 5-hour period or something like that?
That was the earlier one.
That was the earlier one? Okay, I'm sorry.
Correct. That was the earlier one.
Sorry.
This is a single act.
Approximate cost is ballpark?
The cost for the band was $8,000. We have a deposit in at $4,000. Again, something that can be rolled over if necessary. And then the staging, the lighting, the rigging was another $4,500.
Okay, so about 12 and a half. Okay.
And again, this was all thoroughly reviewed by the committee and approved, and was discussed last week also, or 2 weeks ago also. Any other comments or questions from the board, or JR, anything that you would like to add to it?
I just want to reiterate that it is, what we have set forward before, and the concert on the Friday night will follow the same guidelines that we're implementing for the October event.
Very good. Then let's go ahead and call the vote unless there's any other comments from the board. Okay. David, yes or no?
I'll be a no for the same reasons.
Okay. Mary Ann, yes or no?
Yes, because of the caveat.
Okay, Brian,
Yes.
Diana,
Yes, with the second review date.
and I'm a yes. Okay, so thank you again, JR, for that. Holiday concert, December the 3rd. Do I have a motion for the event? Okay, I will motion for the event. I'll motion to approve the event.
I'll
With
second.
the
I have a
caveat,
few
with
questions on
the,
this one.
I say with the caveat again, that we have to have the review. This one is specifically for December the, I'm looking at the date.
3rd,
here.
I think.
Thank you. Yes, holiday concert. So again, November discussion. So that would be my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second for conversation.
Okay.
If I
Questions,
go into
comments?
it, my concern with this is the way it's worded right now is it could be at Lakeside, it could be on Market Street, it could be CCFC. I don't know what Town Center has got planned between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I personally am very uncomfortable with us endorsing an event that sticks us in the middle of Market Street. I mean, we all know where you would normally put the stage down there at the end of the street in front of the lake and stuff like that. You know, how would you distance and stuff like that? We've spent a lot of time talking about safety with other events, and I'm a little concerned here about how we control safety if we don't even know where the event's going to be yet.
Vanessa, can I chime in here?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go
This
ahead.
event is not, Brian, this event is not downtown. This was either, the committee hadn't decided yet whether they wanted to have this at Lakeside or the complex. This is a resident-only event that is not open to the public.
Yeah, I recall a resident-only piece last time for all of these. Resident-only ID required.
Correct.
Okay, so, that helps.
The other thing that I just, as a personal note, I know that the committee will continue to evaluate where we're at and standing. I think that if things work out really well at this CCFC, like I'm expecting they will, I do think it would be beneficial for us just to do the holiday concert up there too. That just kind of removes the whole question of everything. So that's just my two cents on that as we move forward.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that, Vanessa. I was thinking the same thing.
Question or comments, board?
I'm much more comfortable with CCFC. Do we revise? Should we revise?
I was going to say let's
motion
revise.
and say
Let's
we'll
revise.
approve it for CCFC?
Exactly. Let's revise the motion. JR, first, before I revise the motion, what is your sense of you and the committee and your opinion about doing it, just staying with consistency and staying at CCFC? Is that something that you can do?
Oh, yes, that's not an issue. I think the main reason that the Great Lawn was being looked at was because of the more intimate setting, but we can make the complex look just as great.
Perfect. Then I will amend my motion that I motion to approve the event at CCFC, once again evaluating in November to ensure that there are no changes, that no changes would be necessary.
And I'll amend my second because I like this answer a lot better.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, then I'll go ahead and call the vote then. David, yes or no?
I'll be a no, unfortunately, for the same reason.
Okay. Mary Ann?
Yes, with the revisions as stated.
Brian?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, motion passes. All right. Holiday Lane, December. David, I think this is what.
Motion to approve.
Like this is right up
Hop on
David's
those.
Sorry.
Okay, no, that's David. That's good because everybody has to have their limits on what they're comfortable with. We totally respect that.
It's not just but my limits aren't just for me. So please.
I gotcha.
Because I am also venturing out, but it's about what I think is best for our community. So that's my,
Totally understand.
that's my view.
I totally,
But
I
thank you.
totally agree, and I know that
But I
all the
make the
board
motion,
totally respects that.
motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second on that one?
I'll second. This is Mary Ann.
Thank you,
All the
Mary Ann.
votes.
All the
Okay.
votes.
Well, and is there,
What a
there's no
discussion.
yeah, there's no amendments on this one, correct, JR? This is exactly what it was before, correct?
Yes,
You're on
exactly
mute,
like it was before.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Then I'll call the vote. David, yes?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes. Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Vote early and often.
Brian?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Thank you all. Lifestyle events. And
Vanessa,
now, yep, now, go ahead,
yeah,
David.
before you move on, it's part of the packet, but it's not a motion. It's movie nights on the lawn or music concerts on the lawn. So that was part of the package that was shared with the board and shared with the community. And I think that was shared 2 weeks ago also. But that's not a vote item. It's just information items to be scheduled. Correct?
Correct. JR, you want to give any heads up on anything that you're moving forward on the smaller type events like that while you're on here and while we're talking about it?
Yeah, we were basically going to schedule these kind of in between what may or may not have been approved today, and that's what we're working on now is some of the movie nights, some of the smaller scale things. We wanted to see if the board approved of the plan we put forward, because obviously big or small would still be implementing the same type of safety plan.
And JR, as a clarification, it says movie nights, live music, concerts on the lawn. Could that also include, because I know you've done it at least once in the past, could that also include the CCFC? Movies at the CCFC? Or is it
right now
limited to lawn?
No, right now we're probably looking at doing everything at the CCFC just because we have ample parking. We have the ability to control who's there. It's just easier for us.
And this also feeds into what Kevin raised a couple of weeks ago about some pilot testing. So if you had a movie, if you will, 1st of September and the 10th of September, 20th and so forth, you can work out some kinks.
Correct.
Not that I'm anticipating kinks, but that's an opportunity to see how the parking goes and see how well people comply with whatever the setup is.
Yes, and for those type of events, we would require the reservation system as well.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's good to know.
Thank you very much. JR, thank you. And thank you to the committee for all your hard work with this. I know it was well thought out, well planned out, and thank you for helping to provide the board enough comfort to be able to do things for the community once again. So thank you. And I like your little hand clap, Mary Ann. So on that note, we are done with the events and move on to discussion, budget discussion. Now, I would like to make a quick note. I know, Mary Ann, you are a hard stop at 11 because you have other obligations beyond this. So thank you. If there's anything we need to vote on, let's take this quick time to do that. Is there any, and make that our next thing. Is there anything that we need to vote on today? Brian, I think I'll speak for specifics for budget because I know that's what we're going to be discussing. Is there anything you need the board vote on that you would need Mary Ann for above and beyond the strategic plan? Quick conversation on that.
No, what we need just to have a discussion.
Okay, perfect. Then on that note, budget discussion. Brian, do you want to go ahead and lead this one?
Sure. Let me start. I'll try to roll quickly here. I've met with Neil and Susan a couple of times. The budget process is well underway. We agreed a couple of weeks on the timeline. We have a finance committee meeting this Tuesday evening. We're going to just get an update from Neil and stuff like that. So that type of things is all moving. We've got conversations starting with Island Village and a lot of formalization and stuff like that. What I really wanted, so to me, the budget process is moving, and what we need to do as a board is set a date in mid to late September when we're going to have our board review. We don't have to do it today, but we could even do it via email, but we need to get it done. As regards the management contract request for proposal, I actually bounced an idea off of Vanessa the other day, because that's one of the things where we've got to put something in the budget. I was brainstorming about what is the right way to attack this. The charter review process worked well, but I don't think that is the approach we should use for this. I think to really do a request for proposal on the management company, we need to get the community involved. And I thought about, well, how does that really look? We have this committee structure that works very well. We've got finance, we've got technology, we've got special events, you know, we've got covenants in that. What I was thinking about, and I'm thinking out loud here, is we could have 3 or 4 people, I would recommend board members, who actually do an initial vetting. We just get a request for information. We know that to do a request to be the managing company for Celebration, there's not that many qualified companies because we're so big and it requires so much of a commitment. If we as a board did a quick vetting and got it down to 2 companies or at a max 3, then what I think might be interesting is to utilize the committee structure to help do the review. So in other words, using finance as an example, you could have, let's say we had 2 finalists. If you had 2 finalists, you have each one of the finalists meet with the finance committee for an hour. You know, what do we like about what happens today? Let the finance committee actually interview them and come back with a report to the full board on this is their opinion on the 2 candidates and their financial capabilities. Do the same thing with lawn maintenance, do the same thing with covenants. You could do it with ARC, you could do it with special events capabilities, which is critical. You could do it with technology, so that we as a board have our finance committees coming back. And I doubt if you're going to have all those committees come back and say you should do A versus B, you're probably going to have some votes for A and some votes for B. But if we had the interview work and then come back and had everybody write a 2.5 page paper, we've got something to have a meaningful conversation around. Then the companies, based upon the feedback with the different committees, will actually have a pretty good idea what they've got to do. And they make a final proposal with cost and all that type of stuff. I know Vanessa has talked about using Tom to help organize certain things. I'm perfectly fine with that. We put a placeholder in because there's certainly in the contract, we'll have financial considerations, but it'll have legal considerations. I think the current contract is not as voluminous as it probably could be in the areas of what we expect from a financial perspective or a technological perspective. And I'm not trying to criticize past boards. I think we've evolved a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. So that's what I'm trying to really state here. But then, you know, we have that process. We've got the committees, I don't know how many people, let's say we have 7 or 8 committees involved with 8 people each. All of a sudden you've got the feedback from 60 some people. Plus, you know, when those committees have the meetings, public can be invited on a Zoom basis to listen or in person, depending on how we're meeting. So this is an idea I'm bouncing, because then we could put in a placeholder for an amount of money, whether it's 20, 30, 40,000. I'll let Vanessa speak to that in a minute. And then we have a process that we've kind of talked about, and it'll allow us to say, this is how we're going to start rolling into next year. So I'm bouncing an idea for feedback.
This is Mary Ann. I really like that structure you just described as a process, because you're utilizing the resources that we have at hand with people who are already somewhat knowledgeable about the, for lack of a better way to put it, the inner workings, the, you know, the way that, you know, how things work structurally and whatnot. I really think that that is a great way to use the resources at hand so we don't delay the process by trying to build a new structure around it, and use the knowledge base at hand. I think, and engage residents. I really think that's a great recommendation, Brian. I like it. I like the way you built that out.
Thank you.
Other comments from the board?
Yeah, Brian, I appreciate your bringing that forward. And I actually hear 2 different things here. One was a process, and one was it's more implicit, but it's kind of like around criteria. You know, when I think of a job description, we can think of clusters of functions. And I know that when I was part of the group that rewrote the management contract when when CCMC was rehired, what was it, 3 years ago or two, whatever it was, 2.5, 3 years ago. So when we redid that 3 years ago. So I guess I see two different things. I really love the process of engaging the committees. The step before that is, as you said, there's only a few companies out there that have the capability to do all that we want. We are complex. We are a good size. We're not 1,000 homes. We're a lot more and growing. So, there may be some preliminary process that gets to whomever we might seriously consider, kind of like in a RFP and a bidding process, the best and final. So we have some process that gets us to 2, 3, 4, whatever that is. We engage the committees, but I guess the piece I would see here is looking at a variety of criteria. So there might be 6 criteria. It's like a job description. You want capabilities in finance. You want capabilities in communication, in lifestyle. So we have various capabilities that we're looking at. And then you ask every committee to weigh in. I mean, is dog park committee going to weigh in on lifestyle events or on finance? But you give them that opportunity to weigh in. They weigh in as relevant. And then we put it all together and it, makes it a board decision. But it engages the community. It's honoring the committee structure that we have. We don't have to create a gigantic structure to do this. So I think it makes it manageable, doable, fair, and it honors the sorts of functions that we want to see. I mean, functions that we think are important. I know that we did that. Paul, who's on the call here from now at CDD, is when we were on the board, he and I were part of the micro piece on the landscape contract, and we had criteria, and I think we had 5 vendors we were looking at, and they were each looked at with the same criteria, the same lens. And Paul and I came in independently with our own scoring and then worked with management. So I could see that same sort of process here with our committees coming in and weighing in and giving different perspectives. It's not that lifestyle is more important than finance or vice versa. All are important, and then we have to weigh it. So I think you've done a great process. I'm excited about that.
Thank you, David. I agree. Diana, any comments with regards to the setup that Brian has outlined?
No, I like that strategy, and I think it gives us a good look at each one of the companies that will be capable of handling, and that we set out the right parameters on what we're looking for. So I'm comfortable with that.
All right. If I can, then Vanessa, I would be happy to, let me talk to Tom a little and see what he did in Point Siena so that I can tailor in a little bit of what he did, because obviously we got to have legal review and some stuff like that. But I'd be happy to put this into a 2.5, 3-page Word document with a recommendation for how much we should have in the budget and the process that would become part of our budget process. So, and then I would float that to the board. Diana?
Yeah, I would also like to see what Tom did for Point Siena, because I think that was kind of what we talked about at the beginning, was using his format or at least hitting those points. So if you can share that with all of us, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely, no problem at all.
But just as a recap, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just as real quick, David, just as a recap, when we were going through the whole charter review, as Brian had mentioned, that was something that was very poignant, because we recognized as a board and as a task force that we needed to have an RFP. Tom stepped in, gave some guidance and some suggestions. And I think that Brian, working in conjunction with what we need to do legally, give us some perspective on how to do this properly for a homeowner association that's our size. So go ahead, David, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I'd be happy to put some thoughts together too, and whether working with Brian or doing something independently and shooting it to Brian to fold together, but just try to orchestrate a little more clearly what I was saying, like the steps of identifying core companies, what are the criteria, just as a starting point. But yeah, I look forward to work on that.
I think that Tom will also have some information
Abs-
too, because Tom just did this, so he'll have some names of companies, and I think Disney will have some names of companies, TCC, because they did the process recently. So I think that'll help too. Go ahead, Brian.
From a time frame perspective, I think we just need to have this done by the middle of October. So basically, to refresh the newer board members, in the middle of October to late October, we do a budget mailing, and then we say, here's the budget. I think in that package, we ought to include at least a couple of pages saying, this is how we're going to do the RFP, this is how we budgeted, this is what the process is going to be, because the community is going to care. So I think we need to communicate that. So we've got three months here to get it done, but we need to get it done.
And then in that is a timeline for that whole process. And when, if we go with the committee review, which I do think is a good idea, committee engagement, what that looks like, when that would be, when decision would be made. We don't want to make a decision December of 2021.
Agreed. So before Mary Ann has to check off in 5 minutes here, and I know she's muted, she might be actually, okay, I was gonna say she might actually have to be switching over as we speak.
I'm trying to do two things at once, I'm sorry.
That's what I figured. So do you want me to, do you have time now to quickly kind of highlight what you sent out to the board, or do you want me to go ahead and do that for you while you're trying to switch over to your meeting?
I could try to do it quickly. Basically, because budget and, as Brian has really very thoughtfully put out, there's a relationship between strategic planning and budget that cannot be denied. I revisited the 2018 strategic planning areas and modified those a little bit to reflect where we are right now, as well as I blended some things together because they really, in my humble opinion, belong together. But Brian has offered up some thoughts on things we need to discuss from a budget perspective before we really start fleshing out, and well, I feel before we really start fleshing out the strategic plan, there are things that we need to know about the budget because that's going to be a big driver in prioritizing things in the strategic plan. So I don't know if you want to share any more about that, because that was a draft document, my initial thoughts, because I do think we have to have some of these conversations about prioritization and dollars and how they hook together before we start fleshing out. I am preparing what I'm calling a strategic planning guidebook, guiding document to link these various things that we will have to prioritize to measurable outcomes. And then in between that, we have what are the tactical things we have to do and what opportunities are there? I mean, there may be places where we say, okay, this is a priority for us, but we can't fund it. So what are our methods that we're going to try to get there? So as you can see, I apologize, I'm kind of now distracted because I'm trying to do 2 meetings at once, but I don't know how deeply you want to go into that discussion today, or if you want to wait until, really go deeper into the budget impact discussions today. And then when I provide the guiding document, that would be a great place to kind of plug those in to take us to the next step in creating the rolling strategic plan. And I did take some liberties to make some modifications because of the 5-year rolling plan to align it with something called strategic learning, which is a strategic planning model that works in that very way. So what do you recommend, Brian and Vanessa, because my time is super limited right now?
I actually think that we're good. I just wanted to make sure we're touching on it right now to make sure that the community is aware we're on top of it. And that you're working on it. Brian?
I had written a 2-page document, which was refined, and Mary Ann has started something which is broader. And for the sake of public listening, in the charter review, it says we've got to prepare annually a rolling 5-year strategic plan. I think that can be somewhat divorced from the numbers part of the budget. I think it would be wise for us to target having it done in November, because we do the mailing in October. We always end up having a budget meeting, assuming we're having meetings or doing it on a Zoom basis or something. you know, and Mary Ann, what she did was broader, and I thought it was a good at.
It's more strategic plan and less tactical. Yours is more tactical, I think. But I loved your document, and it brought up things that we definitely have to. I think the prioritization piece to me is very important.
What we have to do, Vanessa, and we can't do what I wrote out in 5 minutes. We're going to have to dedicate. We're going to have to take one of these workshops and say, we have a call to order, we have adopted agenda, any update on the facilities, and then we have prioritization. Because the real question, we as a board, and I'll set this for the community, what we are doing right now is saying, okay, we've got $500,000, $700,000 in the working capital fund. We owe a couple $100,000 to the CDD in October. We're talking to Island Village and we're trying to figure out what we're going to have in there. But then we need to make a decision as a board about coming into this facility plan stuff. What is a priority? And if Stetson fell on our lap, do we want it? Yes or no? Are we willing to spend any money next year at all? Yes or no? And there's no easy, nice way to do this conversation. It's a slog in the mud type conversation in a way, and it's going to require some subset conversations, and probably we're going to talk about it for 45, 50 minutes, and then we're going to have homework assignments and do it a couple more times. But I think otherwise I think we're going to get slaughtered in the fall, because people are going to want to know, where's my community center? Where's my pickleball? Where's my pick your favorite topic? And we have to say, this is how we're starting to strategize.
Right.
Agreed.
So I really strongly encourage us to take a workshop pretty darn soon.
I agree.
I agree.
I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah.
And the packaging is a different conversation, but the prioritization conversation is priority number one. I
agreed. Excellent. Brian, what else? Mary Ann, was there anything else you wanted to add for today specifically?
I don't think for today, no, because I really think that this conversation and the things that Brian outlined in his document really that needs to happen first. And I will continue to work on, because I haven't shared the guiding document with you guys yet, because I'm still crafting it, and we'll attend to that later. But I think a special workshop is definitely, I'm in full support of that, because I don't feel that we can go any further with making a genuine strategic five-year rolling strategic plan without that workshop. So, but I do have to hop off, and my apologies for that. But I will be, I am already late to my next one. It already started. So, all right.
Thank you, Mary.
Right,
thank
bye.
you, Mary Ann. You're all set. Thank you. Okay, Brian, I'll have you take back over again.
We've done what I need. We just need to figure out when we're going to have this meeting. I mean, we're talking about my meeting. Eventually, we got to be talking about Mary Ann's meeting. We need to start prioritizing having these meetings.
So what there's a specific conversation, or there's a specific item that's on here that we wanted to discuss, and that was, what does a community center look like? That's on our thing. And that's, I think, a much bigger conversation, but it does involve what you need in order to move forward with your finance committee. So
I still like my 2-page document, and it included in it the community center, but it included in it other priorities and stuff like that. I mean, we know Stetson is out there. You know, if they decided they wanted to sell it to us at some point, I don't know how we as a board have an intelligent, and I don't think we can solve it in 5 minutes here. I don't think we could even have an intelligent conversation until we said, okay, if we wanted Stetson, how are we going to use the 851? What would we use Stetson for? There's just a complicated conversation here that we have not had. What do we think we really need space-wise? You know, I'm kind of giving people the genesis of some of the stuff I wrote. I mean, I think if we post a meeting, we should just put my thing out there and let people read it. You know, we talk about a performing arts center, but do we really need a performing arts center when we're so darn close to Margaritaville and Disney Springs and all the other things there? Or do we take Lakeside and say, you know, really, we could do a little outdoor amphitheater and do shows there and it would be just as nice. that's where we have to decide, because priority number one was a community center, but what is a community center? I get different answers from people, and they're very wide, very varied. So that's where I'm struggling, and why I say we've got to have a meeting.
So I guess my next question is, I know we have Monday. I'm going to bring this twofold. First of all, on Monday we have our, we're going to be discussing Parks and Recreation, things like that. So one of the chats was about the porch and yard sale. And I think that we can have a more public conversation about that if needed. But I think the reality is the committee already voted on it, that they weren't even going to bring it before the board, which is why the comment was, we didn't vote on it yet because it was never brought to the board. The reason why it was never brought to the board is because the committee said that's not something we want to do. So we can have the conversation right now if you want to, or we can add it on Monday just so there's public disclosure that we are not having the porch and yard sale.
So Vanessa, the committee, and this was reported 2 weeks ago, the committee recommended to not have it. It's not that they didn't bring it forward. They voted to not have it. They also voted to not offer Halloween in celebration. And I know that that will be part of a discussion that several of us, I think Paul is also involved with on Monday. I think it's Monday with the CDD and county officials. So it's a county officials, CDD and CROA discussion. And I know that that's on the agenda.
Do we need to vote on the porch and yard sale? Because they're not even bringing it to us. So that's not going to require a vote, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
We can, and we can make it official if you want. I mean, that's up to the board. I mean, I don't mind making it official. Susan, is it possible just to put it down on our event, on our agenda on Monday to officially vote not to have it if that is necessary? If we need more of a clear.
Yes, we can absolutely. Mm-hmm.
That way it's a little more clear and more public, so people aren't even asking then.
But yeah, it was public 2 weeks ago. It's part of it will be part of their minutes, but those minutes haven't been finalized yet.
No, we need to, I like voting on it because then it gets communicated in the Friday flash and we just say, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. So
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So public disclosure on that one. Any other questions with regards to our Monday agenda?
Well, we're still limiting it to 1 hour total.
Correct. That should be a quick vote. That should take no more than 5 minutes.
Right. No. I'm just the whole meeting was okay.
Okay, perfect. So, so my reason for saying our meeting for Monday was going to be for that. Do we want to have a conversation on Friday about your budget specific questions and start the conversation about what a community center looks like?
I could be perfectly capable of doing that. I mean, we've already got the 2-pager, so it goes right in the conversation.
Exactly.
Friday the 14th works for me.
Comments?
That's fine.
Susan and Neil, does that work? Can we do that on Friday? Just have the bigger conversation that'll help to provide nothing other. We don't even have to have an update on anything. It will literally be a workshop solely on budget and community center and anything that Brian needs.
So just a question, do we have an agenda for the 21st? Because I know we moved to every other week. I'm okay with every week, but do we have an agenda for the 21st?
Not yet.
I think that's gonna, and we're gonna work on that one next. But I think we have plenty of things that we need to discuss. Okay. But our meeting, our every 2-week meetings really do take up a lot about updates of what the community is going on. So I think I think that's where we need to kind of fill in with those more critical items that we need to make sure that we take time on. Is that reasonable, board?
That's fine.
Fine.
Okay. So on the 14th, it will be an item specific to budget community center discussion, correct?
Let's not call it just community. Let's call it
board priorities.
Working capital funds prioritization. for the 2021 and subsequent.
Perfect. Is that good, Susan?
Got it.
Excellent. All right.
So this really comes out of our, the plan that we had the consultant provide, Lowe's Design provided.
Correct.
Right, which is what fed into what was on my 2-page report. I'll review my 2-page report this weekend and resend it to the board, just so that it's clear what we're going to do at our meeting.
And then make sure that gets, Susan gets a copy of it so that can then go be attached to our agenda for the 14th.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And if Mary Ann has anything ready with the strategic end of it, she can include it, but we will discuss solely on what you need for yours, Brian, correct?
We're going to take a full hour on my 2 pages.
Then we will not even discuss anything other than that. Perfect. Okay. So given that, we are good with at least going forward with that. Now we need to discuss community liaisons. So I'm backtracking again. Since we're done budget discussion, there's nothing else. We have our budget meeting set for next Friday, correct? So that item number
Correct.
3, we're done with, correct, Brian?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go on to item number 4, which is our community liaisons. And I think Kevin is back on here now. Kevin, are you in?
Good morning. I don't want to interrupt you
There
guys.
you are.
Sorry. It's
Hello.
been a
Perfect timing.
on my end.
Okay, perfect timing. We can discuss our liaison responsibilities. So that works out well. Mary Ann has a couple on here, but at least you'll be on here, and then so we can help to redefine some stuff. So everybody received the sheet on liaisons responsibility. I've been doing the ARC liaison. It's been working well. It's the 2nd year. The ones that we need to reevaluate are the 2 specifically that Debbie's been on. The one, the dog park committee. Debbie was on there. David, I know you've been popping in and helping out for that.
Yeah, I've been on that for the 2 meetings when Debbie was ill and then after she resigned. So I'm happy to continue in that role unless someone else would like that.
You just have lots there, so I don't want to make sure that you're not overwhelmed either. So if you're able to continue, okay, then
I'm fine.
board,
I'm fine.
are we good? Are we good, board, with David continuing on that role?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then Osceola County, Debbie was the lead for that one, and Kevin and Debbie and me were the 3 that have been the liaisons. Kevin, did you want to take over as lead, or do you want me to do that?
Whatever works better for you. I do communicate with Peggy as far as things when it comes to the commissioner from time to time. So I'm happy. It's almost natural, but whatever is preferred.
Yeah, I don't know that makes a preference. We have our meeting on Monday, our joint meeting, CCDD County and us on Monday. I've been able to attend that. I know it kind of works in because those types of meetings also work out with the CCDD. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to hold lead on that, that's perfectly okay.
Okay. Then obviously you'll still continue on with whatever you've been doing with it, which is totally fine. Do we need to add another one, or I think you and I can probably just balance it between the 2 of us? You good with that, Kevin?
I'm fine if you are.
I'm good with that. Okay. Board, is there anybody else? Did you want to chime in on that, or are you good with just Kevin and I handling that together? Okay.
All good.
And that works out well too, because Kevin, I believe you're also with the CCDD, right? You're the CCDD liaison too, correct?
Yeah, without the last 3 months or so being a little chaotic on my personal life, but yes.
Okay. But Brian's been taking that. Now we don't have a specific lead listed on here. Do we want, because Brian's been kind of the lead, the head on that one. Kevin, are you good just putting Brian down as the lead for that?
100%.
Okay. Congratulations, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. So I think liaison wise, I think we have a lead for everything now. Is there anybody that is feeling a hole where she was in that needs help with anything? Because I know she was helping out with a couple of the other ones. Do you need a backup to, and does anybody need a backup where Debbie was their backup? Or are you good? Okay. So I think we're good now with the point person and the liaison board. Any comments on that?
I see school district now only has one, and that's Marianne. Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
That's a question.
Probably not, because I know I can step in on that. That's fine, unless you wanted to, Kevin. I can step in there.
I'm sorry. Once again, which one?
The school district, because it's just Marianne and Debbie.
Have at it.
I think yeah. I second Kevin's comment.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just put me in there. I'll cover that one then. Okay. All right. Anything else that anybody else sees? Okay. And then Marianne is taking the lead on the RFP on the strategic planning, but everybody's involved.
So two other thoughts, if I may. One is,
Please.
I don't think we need a line item for hiring new executive director.
I would agree with that. Yes, we can totally remove that one.
I would propose removing that one.
I think at the bottom was just projects that we didn't want to lose during transit to the boards. Yeah. I don't think the whole bottom section is needed at all.
I think that's fine. I don't know that we need the bottom section.
Just as a quick side note, though, for I think Island Village.
I think Island Village.
Well, my concern is David and Brian. I think you two have been the two that have been pretty consistent. Yeah. With staying involved in that. Are you guys good for just for the sake for Susanna and all of that for you two to take any Zoom calls, anything like that in coordination?
Yes.
Board, are we good with doing that and throwing David and Brian into that?
We've been there a couple of years. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. From the beginning.
Excellent. All right. Then you guys are it. So Susanna, I hope that helps with you. You and I had exchanged some emails. So it's official, Brian and Kevin, or excuse me, Brian and David. I got you, Brian and David, sorry.
That's fine.
Okay. So I think the board, I'm gonna have a quick conversation with relationships to committees and the board liaison's role within that committee. And my reason for doing this is I know that everybody has lots of things going on in their lives, but each committee has different needs from their liaison. For instance, the ARC committee I attend on a regular basis because oftentimes they want to bounce things off of me. Some of the committees are much more self-sufficient and are fine with just a flying in, have the liaison there in case they need it. But some really, I think the general consensus is the committees really like it when their board member liaison is there on the call with them. So I will open it up to if I know that there's some committee members that are actually on the call right now. Are there any committee members that would like to speak with regards to where you believe a CROA board liaison, what your expectation is of them? And if you don't, that's okay too. But if you're on and you'd like to speak, please either raise your hand or unmute yourself. Joseph, go ahead.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Okay,
thank you, Vanessa.
Absolutely, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that when we're talking about board representation on the committees, that we also have a good definition of the responsibilities and the autonomy of those committees. The REC committee, for example, and ARC can make decisions about certain things where a lot of things then need to be pushed toward the board for final permission. So that affects your comment toward saying that a flyby works or that you actually need to be there. So just when you are discussing the committee liaisons and having to be, just try to keep that in mind. And if we need more of a definition of what each committee has the power or ability to decide, that may reflect on how your board representation works.
Got it. And just for quick, thank you, Joseph. That's a good recap. I think it's important that residents know that board liaisons do not vote during a committee meeting. The chair is the one that runs the meeting, and the committee is the one that actually votes. The liaison is there strictly as just that. Shares views as if there have been public discussions about things, that's an opportunity they can say, well, I do know that this has been a conversation among the board members, and XYZ is their general opinion. Or it is an opportunity for the liaison to bring back to the board different conversations that have been going on within the committee meeting, in which case they can either bring it up during a regular board meeting for conversation or otherwise. Any comments from the board to continue this? Any other committee member comments or committee chair comments on this? You may unmute yourself if you wish to speak. Perfect, I'm good with that. So if, just as a side note, if there are any committees that have specific expectations of their liaison, please feel free to reach out to them and express your concerns or not concerns, and we can move forward on that end. So anything else? Go ahead.
This is David, just a clarification on that. You know, some committees, I mean, I think some board liaisons may be present all the time. Some may just be available for a question if needed. A committee may reach out and say, we would like to have the board liaison present at this meeting, but I don't have an expectation to show up at every, I mean, I try to if I can, but I don't have the expectation of each board member showing up at every committee meeting of every committee that they have. I mean, so I think that's also, that depends on the committee and depends on the board member. And again, it's meant as a liaison to facilitate communication, I think.
Hey, David, this is Kevin. I'm actually going to follow up right on that. I think everybody has a different leadership style, right? That's not a question at all. So I am part of the Recreation Committee as well as the Technology Committee. I greatly appreciate Brian stepping in and helping out for the past 2 months or so when it comes to the Technology Committee and answering some questions as I go through some challenging times when they're looking at future things that, I mean, honestly, they include a lot of things with the budget as well. So his expertise is definitely appreciated there. My style when it comes to the leadership is not so much the be there every meeting to necessarily get the full information. We have committee members that are in place because we trust them, because they're doing what's best for the community as well. I go ahead and I want to go ahead and ensure a relationship stays between the head of that committee as well as the board liaison as that connection. So that way, if there's if Adam turns around and says, hey, Kev, I really need you at this recreation committee, these are the hot topics that we're talking about, fantastic, then I'll make it there. But if I don't have that kind of a need coming from the committee, then if I can pop in, I certainly will. But I recognize that at least the way I see it is not critical. So I just want to go ahead and make sure that's out there.
And I think I'm saying the same. I think I'm saying the same thing. It sounded like how I would view my role. Yeah.
Any other comments? I see. Does anybody else have any comments on this before we move on?
You know, I think you know, we have a new executive director. What, 1 month on board, Neil? Something like that, to the day or almost. Is this end of week 4?
I believe working day, this is 20, so to the day, yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, you know, I think one of the things I think we've talked about over the years is what's the role of volunteers? How do we nurture that? What's the appropriate role with committees and then with the management personnel? So I think there's going to be some fresh looks that we would have, you know, to help committees feel wanted and engaged, and also staying, you know, doing the good work. I think Kevin said it well. You know, these are people we trust. They've been vetted, but you know, doing the good work and you know, all for the better of the community. So, but I think I welcome Neil's engagement as we move forward and stepping back a little bit. And how do we get more, if you will, more of a waiting list for our committees? How do we help committee members feel engaged and feel valued? Because I think there's a lot of wisdom that people bring to the various tables. Finance committee is a great example of a lot of that wisdom from people's professional experiences. So I leave that as an open issue to keep coming back to. But I think the issue today was, what's the role of filling the liaison roles with Debbie's departure, and then what's the role of a liaison? So we're not expected to be chair. I mean, I chose when I was last meeting in town hall to not sit at the table with the special events committee, because I am not on the committee. I'm there for advice or counsel as they see fit. That's how I view that. Anyway, looks like Brian wanted to say something.
Thank you, David. Brian, did you want to say something?
Well, while we're on committees, what I had sent, because we're doing Zoom meetings and we're talking about doing Zoom into the future, and I had sent an email to the board and some in management about how I'd like to actually keep a couple of recordings so that we could look back at, because if you miss a meeting, but you can go back and watch the meeting, it's very beneficial. And we've had lots of situations where we say, what happened at a meeting? You know, do we need to keep them forever? There may be a legal question there that I don't understand the answer to yet, but at least I still think that would be very beneficial for us to consider.
Then I know there's a technological question. I know special events has been meeting in person, but there's also people on Zoom. So how does one record live and Zoom together? That's a technical question. And I don't know the answer. How do we record the meeting live and then Zoom? But I think your point is having recordings of committee meetings. That helps committee members as well as board members who weren't able to be there, as well as residents who are interested.
Yeah, so I'm going to apologize here for a minute. I just got a notification my internet is unstable. So if for some reason I drop, I apologize, and David, you can take over. But I agree with Brian. How can we make how can we do the recording to at least roll those over? Do we need anything on that? Is that something we want to discuss now, or do we want to add that to our agenda?
I think Brian's point was have management research that and let us know. I mean, part of that is going to be legal part, but he just alluded to, but also the technological part. So I think
I'd just like to see a recommendation from management about this is how you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. Neil?
I don't know if Vanessa's unstable or her connection is unstable.
I just got that. Well, I am unstable. But that's a whole other issue that we don't need to discuss here in public. So on that note,
future workshop.
Is there anything? Is anything else? So we're done with some committee liaison information. Future workshop topics. So on the 21st, I'm looking through our list here. I think some of the stuff that's on here actually will be discussed on the 14th. Anyway, do we want to do strategic planning? Is there anything? I'm going to backtrack. Neil or Susan, or I'll leave this open to management in general. Is there anything that you need for us to discuss for your purposes on the 21st?
Let me pull it up. I didn't print that out, but I've got it right here. One of the things that is going to be important to discuss, because we have been working with Tom Slayton, he's had it for the last month or so. I call it a maintenance matrix, but it's a maintenance responsibility chart for the service areas, and that's one thing that we want to roll out as quickly as possible. It's been on the plate for some time, and Charlie just emailed them to me while we were here, so I think we'll have that. for the 21st if there is time. I know there are other priorities, but that's something that's really important for the owners of the service areas to understand what we're responsible for and what they're responsible for. And this spells it out in a very clear manner rather than having two documents. Every service area has a document and it's been vetted by the board, by the attorney.
Perfect. Then I'm good with that. Board, are we good with having service
Yes.
area conversation on the 21st?
Yes.
There's nothing of any other importance that we, as a board, that we need to discuss sooner, correct? We're good with this? All right.
From a quorum
Brian?
perspective, I don't think I'll be present on the 21st. I just have.
I think we're good because we've got Diana, me, David, hopefully Kevin, and Marianne should be able to pop in too on the 21st. I know there's a possibility that Neil may not be able to be there because he's got closing on a house. Yay, congratulations. And, but I think as long as we have Tim for a service area, then we should be in good shape. Okay, then we're good. Anything else that needs to be discussed by the board or any residents that would like to speak? Last call.
There was something out there from somebody about the thing about putting mask and hand sanitizers downtown.
Ah, that's a good question. We were working on that behind the scenes. So let's, I don't know that we're going to have an answer on that today, but can we have some information coming forward on that for our next call?
I'm gonna say that on the 21st. I think that's what it was. It's in the chat room. So I think that'd be a good time to do it.
I agree. So let's add that, if we could have that conversation, that would be helpful. It was in the chat. It's been on it's been a conversation that's been going around for a while. So I agree. Thank you, Dan. Anything else? Perfect. Then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion from David. Do I have a second?
Yep.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. I love seeing all the residents participating. Thank you very much. And thank you to the committee members that were on too.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.